On today's Choice Spot, we're having a look at the Mattel DC Comics Multiverse, the 1989 Batman. This Batman is highly detailed and authentic, indicated at the top of the packaging there. Featured on the side of the packaging is one of the promotional piece art pictures of Batman with his cape thrown back. I'm not really super keen on that design, but Batman does come with his grapple gun. Doesn't look like he comes with a batarang or any other accessory. Warning token hazards, small parts not for children under 3 years of age. Again, this comes to us from Mattel, and Spot picked a whole bunch of these actually up on eBay from one of the sellers, Comic and Toys. I'll provide the link down below if you guys want to check out their store. On the back of the packaging, your read-up says DC Comics Multiverse are inspired by comic-based, character-rich entertainment sources such as movies and video games. These figures are meticulously detailed to be truly authentic, celebrating the many universes of entertaining DC Comics material. Again, that same artwork of, that same photo of Michael Keaton. The other figures that you can pick up are General Zod, Mr. Freeze, and Batman, which Mr. Freeze is kind of like thrown in there. I mean, they have other Batman figures available. I don't know why they didn't put like Catwoman or, you know, the Penguin on the back there instead of putting Mr. Freeze, who's kind of in a different universe altogether, but oh well. A small read-up says real name Bruce Wayne, occupation billionaire industrialist, high-tech gear, grapple gun, bolo launcher, and Batmobile. Villain, the Joker. Speaking of which, Spot mentioned as he was doing the review of the Christopher Reeve Superman, I really hope that Mattel is going to continue this line. Sometimes Mattel abandons things when they don't realize, when they see that things aren't selling very well, they immediately abandon them. And I really hope that's not the case, because you know, I'd love to get a 3 3/4 inch version of like a Joker, a Jack Nicholson Joker, maybe even like a Bob the Goon, you know, as a throwback to the older original '89 line that we got. I'm just hoping that we get more of these figures. That's my point. That's my point. Having said that, though, Spot's gonna take a break and get this opened up. When we come back, we're gonna get a better look at the 1989 Batman. There's more heading your way, guys. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. For your one accessory, Batman does come with a grapple gun. Now, because it is a pliable rubbery plastic that they use for the grapple gun, it's extremely warped. I might even have to do the hot water trick, put this in hot water and just kind of reshape it and to get it back to some usable state that I can actually have it displayed with Batman. But you can take the grapple gun and put it in Batman's one hand. Unfortunately, the other hand is closed shut, so it is only one hand that you can put it into, and it sits in there, but it doesn't look right. You know, I don't know if it's just a case where the handle is just way too long, but I might even just, and it doesn't even sit in his hand very well. I might even just actually take a knife or something and just kind of trim off some of that excess on the handle. The handle really could stop to about there. I don't feel like it needs to be any longer than that. Because I mean, like even sitting in Batman's hand, you can see that excess. Again, if I cut it right there, I could trim off all this extra stuff that they put at the bottom of it. But it just doesn't sit in his hand very well. The grapple gun, I feel, the handle is almost too thin, or Batman's hand is a little too wide. I mean, it sits in there, but not well, as it has fallen to the floor. Will I pick it up? Probably not. Okay, so having a look at Batman, it's a good piece. I will say, this would be the parent response. I think he tried. And I think that's what they say. I think he tried. And I'm going to say I feel like Mattel tried. It's not as good, for example, if I bring him in as the Christopher Reeve Superman. That's just my opinion. It has nothing to do with the fact that one figure is much brighter than Batman. I mean, Batman's a darker looking character with the dark suit. Like, facially it's not bad, but I feel like, again, like, it could have been a better face. I don't know, Christopher Reeve, I could be just biased because I like Superman, but I don't know. I feel like his face could have been better. Like, getting a closer look at the face. For all intents and purposes, there's nothing really theoretically wrong with the face. It could just be an issue that because you're taking a larger figure and you're scaling it down, because ultimately they would not have sculpted a figure this small. With toy companies, they always make a larger figure, probably around 12 inches, and then they scale it down to a 3 3/4 inch scale. That's how they sculpt their figures. I think on paper or on the original piece, maybe larger figure, this figure worked well. But I don't know what's missing once you scale it down. I mean, the eyes are painted and the mouth is painted. Maybe if the mouth had been painted a little bit more, because it's almost like too pale, that like the mouth area gets lost. Or maybe it's because the mouth area is too small versus the rest of his head. I'm not sure really what the issue is, but it doesn't feel like it's quite right. I might even be crazy for saying this, but I think even when Kenner was producing the Batman figures from like the Batman Returns line, I feel like that was even a better head sculpt than what we have here. I don't know. Body-wise, though, the rest of the body is really nice. And as a kudos to Mattel, I like the material that they use for the cape. It has almost like a faux leather look to it with the individual, like the little grain marks, the material marks in the fabric. I mean, it's a nice touch. And I also really like the way it sits on his shoulders. It sits on the shoulders the way that it should have sat for maybe like the older Kenner figures, or, you know, even like the Hot Toys figures, like the cape didn't sit very well on Batman. It didn't drape very well. This part is done right. You know, this part from the neck down. I just kind of wish like the head, maybe it's just the fact that the head is a little too chunky. Like if I go like this, like maybe that works a little bit better. That I feel like the head is maybe too wide. That if I went like this, maybe it doesn't look as bad. Spot could just be full of crap too. As it goes for the rest of the figure, he is still pretty articulated, on par with what we got with the Superman. And I also noticed too that the Batman has rotation in the wrists. And I went back, let me just go back, get him to stand properly here. I went back and I had a look at the Superman. And I don't even know if I mentioned this in the review, but yeah, his hands also do rotate. So you can have like Superman screaming at the sky because Lois has been buried alive in her car. I don't even know if I mentioned that in the review. I don't think I did. But yeah, they do have swiveled wrists, which is a nice touch as well. But for your articulation, Batman's head is on a ball joint. Same issue really as Superman. Even though his head's on technically a ball joint, you can't really. Let's see if I don't know if I can actually pop the head off. No, I can't. I probably could, but I don't want to break it. The head is on a ball joint, but yeah, it doesn't move up and down. Really, more so just left and right. Shoulders are on a ball hinge socket, so they do rotate out, rotate forward and back. He has a bend at the elbow, but once again, no swivel in the bicep or the forearm, but at least he has a swivel in the wrist. As for his waist is on a straight swivel. Legs go forward and back and out via the same kind of articulation that you would now find with DC Universe figures, which I like that as long as this doesn't get loose. He has a swivel in the thigh, a single bend at the knee, and no articulation in the foot. His foot is just straight staction. It's a good piece. Now we also got ourselves a Unmasked Bruce Wayne, which really, I haven't opened the figure up, but it looks like it's pretty much just this figure with the straight head swap, which you could debate the fact that it's a little lazy because like Mattel easily just used the same figure and they just put a new head in. Could have almost given us that with this Batman, just a head swap. But you know, it's not that Mattel is in the business of giving us swappable things. They don't really do a lot of that kind of stuff. So, you know, if anything, yeah, they'll just release him as a different figure. Batman, it's nice. It's not a perfect piece, and again, I feel like maybe even if it was just a little bit more narrower on the head, it might have worked a little bit better. I like the Superman more, but the Batman isn't terrible. I'm going to give Batman an 8.5. Today's Toy Spot, we were having a look at the Mattel DC Comics Multiverse, the 1989 Batman. Stay tuned, guys. Spot's going to have more Toy Spots heading your way. Thanks for watching. See you next time.